Greetings indie warriors and welcome to I Dream of Indie. We always love when indie developers take creative risks. It's one of the most exciting parts about this channel, and today is no exception as we look at RPG meets visual novel meets point and click about an elf on the Nintendo Switch. In About an Elf, lead character Dam is on a quest to stop the King of Terrors and restore peace to the elven lands, as she is the princess of all elves, accompanied by a strange cat that has run out of courage named Roland. In between traveling through these 4 different worlds, Dam is also narrating this story to a young lady named Dido, who rewards her for telling good stories with jelly beans. This game made me chuckle quite a bit with some really excellent writing. It's not going to be for everyone, but the humor almost reminded me of playing a Suda 51 game, with it being so off the wall, and they'll use a lot of funny words throughout, like gargantuan or fabtasmic. The interactions between all of these different characters are quite amusing. You'll meet some very strange creatures and other oddities along the way as well, like talking broccoli, and I just thought the whole thing was pretty entertaining. Outside of just reading through this narrative, you will occasionally have to make a few choices along the way, and these choices can have a little bit of an impact on things and result in you losing a jelly bean if you make one of what the game views as wrong choices. Where the point in clicking comes into play is when you get to new worlds, and then you can scroll about the screen a little bit and highlight certain objects or people to interact with them and basically advance the story. You won't really get lost in this game, as whoever is in the center of each image will usually give you a hint as to what you need to click on, but honestly, these hints weren't all that necessary. It's usually pretty obvious. When playing the game docked, you'll have the option of a cursor on screen that you can move about simply enough with the analog stick, and if you're playing undocked, you can actually just tap on things. You can also tap on things to advance through all of that text too. That does bring up one little gripe I have with this game. I couldn't find any sort of auto-scroll feature. Maybe they'll add one at some point, hopefully, but I did have to continually press an action button in order to advance through all the text as I was trying to capture footage. It's a lot easier when you're just tapping the screen. So you have a visual novel, and then of course you have those point-and-click elements, and then where's the RPG stuff come in? Well, I hesitate to even really call this an RPG per se, but there are some battles you'll get into that sort of play out in a semi-turn-based form, I guess. I don't know, kind of weird to explain, but the idea here is that you actually see a vision before each battle, and you have elements that you can use. These are spells, essentially. Within that vision is a hint, generally. So you might see a flash of lightning. That means you'll have to select a lightning spell in order to take out a certain enemy. Or you might see fire in the background, so you'll have to select fire. The hint can be a lot more subtle than that, and sometimes maybe a little too subtle, but overall, the only real punishment here is that you'll lose a jelly bean by making the wrong selection. You'll defeat the enemy by making the right selection. And that is essentially what you have here for about a good 5 to 6 hours. And yes, it is amusing, but after, I would say, the 4th hour or so, fatigue was setting in for me a little bit. I think this game actually would have worked better a little bit shorter, which I know is kind of a strange complaint, but the humor and the battle system and everything just kind of does start to wear thin as you get towards the end. Now that said, I was playing this game in a marathon style session. I did it all pretty much in one shot, but I still feel like 3.5 to 4 hours would have been plenty versus 5 to 6. The visuals in this game are truly something to behold. The characters almost look like creepy action figures or renders. Some of the worlds are really quite detailed, but I actually think the game looks excellent. You have strange creature designs, monster designs, character designs. The worlds themselves are really odd. It all just has this unique art style to it that I quite appreciated. It almost reminded me of some weird Cartoon Network Robot Chicken style show at times. I really did quite enjoy the visuals. I do have to say that they look much better docked, in my opinion. In handheld, I felt like I was losing a little bit of resolution or something. Everything was just a little bit more washed out, but still, the game looks nice either way. You have to be open-minded here and expect the unexpected sometimes, but it's a cool cool art style that you don't often see. I also found the sound design to be quite entertaining. It really fits the vibe of this game. There's weird noises that characters make with each line of text that they spew out. The soundtrack itself, it's an interesting mix of some classical instruments and some more driving drum beats, electronic sounding. It's actually pretty catchy stuff that doesn't just drift into the background necessarily. It fits the mood perfectly. I enjoyed these tracks. There's not a ton of musical compositions here, but I do think what's here is quite well done. I really enjoyed my time with About an Elf. It's a well-written, funny game. Maybe it runs a little bit too long in my opinion, but overall you just don't get a lot of visual novels that are quite like this one. In fact, I had a better time with this as a visual novel than I did a lot of the other ones that I've played on this channel, just because it did feel a little bit more interactive, even though it does run out of steam late. The mix of point and clicking and quote-unquote RPG elements keep things feeling fresh enough though for this to be a fun playthrough that will definitely have you laughing. Thank you so much for watching the latest video from I Dream of Indie. We would now like to take a moment to pay tribute to our great indie warriors who support us through channel memberships. Bill T, Christian Cruz, Kevilo, Mitchell Hall, Chris Jackson, Nathan Moore, Adriana Amato, CJR, C Coil, Skeptism, Haley, Julian Kolbis, Jen Rose, Jesse, CPM, Bunny, JRS8, Ray Lynn, Marky Mint, Dave Hart, Peekaboo, Lex Noyle, Eric, PSC, Adrian Garcia, King of the Hatch, Carmine Red, and Larkison. Thank you so much for all you do for independent developers, publishers, and for I Dream of Indie. Everybody else head down to the description box below. Let's defeat the gaming echo chamber and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming.